Here are the top stories of the news. The Nigerian Air Force hits terrorist camp in Borno State, destroys hideout. The resident doctor threatens to resume nationwide strike despite court order. On the foreign scene, Iran army vows to protect public property as Tehran seeks to quell growing unrest. Good afternoon and welcome to Spring News at 12 on West Spring Television. My name is Tomilola Daniel Adejuwo. The Nigerian Air Force, operating under the Joint Task Force of Operation Hadenkai, has said it recorded another operational success following a coordinated air interdiction conducted at Abegajiri in the Timbuktu Triangle in Borno State. The force's Director of Public Relations and Information Headquarters, Air Commodore Ehiman Ejodame, on Saturday noted that the defeat was achieved following multi-source intelligence that confirmed active terrorist presence, structures, and concealed logistics facilities in the area. According to the statement, following intelligence, the force's air assets were then employed in integrated surveillance and precision strike roles to engage identified targets. It is disclosed that the operation was designed to degrade terrorist capability, deny sanctuary, and shape the battle shape for ground forces in strict adherence to established rules of engagement and the protection of non-combatants. Commenting on the operation, the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sunday Aneke, stated that the success of the mission reflected the Air Force's resolve to dominate the air domain in support of joint operations. Meanwhile, the federal government has promised to empower the Nigerian armed forces to subdue the security challenges bedeviling the country. The Vice President Kashim Shettima reaffirmed the firm resolve of the President Bola Tinubu administration during a special Juma prayer at the National Mosque, Abuja, on Friday, ahead of the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. January 15 is set aside annually by the federal government to honor the Armed Forces of Nigeria. While speaking during the prayer, Shettima acknowledged the sacrifices of the fallen soldiers who paid the supreme price to safeguard the country's territorial integrity, as well as the lives and properties of the citizens. The reaffirmation of its commitment to tackling security challenges in the country followed a renewed threat by U.S. President Donald Trump, who warned of potential further airstrikes if what he termed as attacks on Christians continue. But Trump said there could be more strikes by the U.S. in Nigeria if Christians are killed, even as federal government has previously denied that Christians are subjected to systematic persecution. In the nation's capital, the Nigerian Bar Association NBA Abuja chapter has raised fresh concerns over the resurgence of one-chance robberies in the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. The chairman of the NBA Abuja chapter, Kechuku Emelieze, sounded the alarm during a media briefing in Abuja on Friday, urging the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, and the police to urgently strengthen security measures. Emelieze described the renewed wave of attacks as disturbing and urged the FCT administration and security agencies to review existing strategies to protect residents, particularly commuters. The call follows the killing of a lawyer, Mediatrix Chigbo, and a nurse, Chinemerem Chukwu Mezim, in separate incidents linked to a criminal scheme. A former chairman of the NBA FCT chapter, Olumuyiwa Akiboro, questioned the inability of security agencies to track the dismantle the criminal networks behind the attacks. Receiving the NBA delegation, the Commissioner of Police, FCT Command, Maila Dantawaye, assured the association and residents that investigations were ongoing and that those responsible will be brought to justice.
She doesn't live along Kuba Road. She lives around the airport road, I think around Lugbe. The information we gathered, there are so many of our colleagues who have narrowly escaped this incident. One of our colleagues late last year, before Christmas, Banke, was abducted in the same manner of one chance on her way back from work. And she was driven around town between 7 p.m. till about midnight. She almost lost her two eyes. Now, the alarming thing is that when they carry you, you have your ATM card. They get you, they have a POS machine in the car with them. They get you to begin to call friends and colleagues. They give you a target of 10 million or thereabout, or whatever comes to their mind. You now start calling colleagues who will send money into your account, and then these monies are instantly withdrawn from the POS machine or transferred from the POS machine. We do not know the state of affairs of what transpired between Princess and them because she's not here to tell her story.
We can't continue to lose them. Can we have the right infrastructure to ensure that these things don't happen? What is happening in our transport system in the FCT? This is an urban society, for Christ's sakes, particularly the Federal Capital Territory. And we believe that if the FCT minister decides, all that needs to happen is for that decision to happen. If he decides and wills it, we believe that he will apply the same seriousness with which he tackles other things. We've seen the improvements in the state of roads in the FCT. Can we not have an improvement in security in the FCT? That is what needs to be prioritized, because it is only after we are safe that we can enjoy every other infrastructure in the FCT. So that needs to happen as a matter of urgency.
I got intel about the activities of One Chance in FCT. And then we commenced serious operations on them. We've arrested some of them, so many of them, and we thought that we were getting to the root of it. But it's so unfortunate that of very recent, we lost these vibrant Nigerians. We have decided to re-strategize, and we will continue to do our best to ensure that we send them completely out of FCT. We have, on these two cases and many other ones that have been reported, launched very serious investigations headed by the Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of Criminal Investigation Department.
Into politics, former Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose was weighed in on the crisis rocking River State, saying only fasting and prayers can safeguard National life for Bara. Speaking in the news chat on Friday evening, Fayose advised the governor to reconcile with his estranged political godfather and predecessor, Nyesom Wike, who now serves as the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. He said many prayers will be said, noting that so many fasts and prayers would be the only thing that would save the governor. The governor of Bara and the Rivers State House of Assembly have been at loggerheads. The lawmakers initiated impeachment proceedings against the governor, accusing him of spending the state funds without approval from the parliament. Most of the lawmakers are loyal to the FCT minister, who is campaigning against the governor's re-election. Wike had accused Fubara of reneging of the peace agreement they both signed before President Bola Tinubu lifted the emergency rule in Rivers, paving the way for his return to office. However, the member representing Idiato Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, Ikenga Ogochinyere, slammed Rivers State Assembly lawmakers for the move.
Who are concerned for the need for stability once this crisis, which is fight over people's wealth and resources, to end. You had a 600 billion naira left. You want him to bring budget, so you chop something. You forgot that we have passed the budget. We have passed the budget. 2025 budget, we have passed it. So you can't ask the state government to present a budget. The only time they can present a budget is after August or there, about 2026. So what is the basis for the so-called impeachment? If not that somebody wants to blackmail somebody somewhere or harass somebody to get more agreement or more concessions against a sovereign people, has Rivers people become so insignificant that they can't decide their affairs any longer? That those who have ruled them before will hold them hostage? Even the ruling party are not seeing your statement up to now when your governor is under a fresh assault that is based on a ground that is illegal, unknown to law, because we have passed the budget. Mr. President, we led the budget, we passed it. 2025 budget. So there's no basis asking him to represent a budget. You have to speak up. You have a national vice chairman of a party insulting the governor of his party because he got land. You see lawmakers having impeachment because they got land.
In the meantime, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, said that the off-cycle governorship elections in Osun and Ekiti State and the Federal Capital Territory FCT Area Council Elections scheduled for February 2026 would serve as an important testing ground for the 2027 elections. INEC Chairman Professor Joash Amupitan made this known at the opening of a two-day induction and strategic retreat held in Lagos. It stressed that while the 2027 general election remained its ultimate goal, it must first successfully navigate several key electoral milestones. Amupitan stated that the elections will serve as important testing grounds for refining voter registry management, election logistics, and the deployment of technology, such as the bimodal voter accreditation system BVAS. It further reaffirmed its commitment to delivering elections that are free, fair, credible, transparent, and inclusive as it intensifies its institutional preparations towards the general election. Moving on, the National Association of Resident Doctors NARD at the University of Port Harcourt has joined its national body in demanding the full implementation of a Memorandum of Understanding MOU signed with the federal government, threatening to resume nationwide strike despite a court order. The MOU, based on the association's 19-point demands, addresses critical welfare, remuneration, and professional practice issues affecting resident doctors across Nigeria. Justice Emmanuel Subilim of the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, sitting in Abuja on Friday, issued an order restraining the association and its members from embarking on the strike scheduled to commence on January 12. However, at a press briefing in Port Harcourt, NARD Uniport President Dr. Zina Kalu said the union had previously suspended its strike in November, trusting that the federal government would implement the MOU, which has failed to implement. Last Saturday, NARD announced plans to resume its total, indefinite, and complete strike from January 12, citing the government's failure to implement agreement reached with the association. You're watching Spring News at 12 at West Spring Television. We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us. Suggesting that the surge in petrol imports in November 2025 was linked to a breakdown in supply arrangement between Dangote Refinery and petroleum marketers. A statement signed by Dangote Group's Chief Branding and Communications Officer Anthony Chejina described the report as inaccurate and misleading. The statement noted the refinery as clarifying that no supply agreement with marketers had collapsed, adding that its engagement with the downstream market was deliberately structured to meet rising demand and enhance access, competition, and efficiency. It stated that since December 16, the refinery has consistently loaded between 31 million and 48 million liters of PMS daily from its gantry, subject to market demand. The refinery noted that the figures are verifiable against depot and loading records maintained under routine regulatory oversight. It further reaffirmed its commitment to reliable supply, transparency, and the orderly development of a competitive downstream market. On the foreign scene, the Iranian army today said it will safeguard strategic infrastructure and public property and urge Iranians to thwart the enemy's plot as the clerical establishment steps up further to quell the country's biggest protest in years. The Iranian military statement came after U.S. President Donald Trump issued a new warning to Iran's leaders on Friday, and after Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Saturday declares the United States support the people of Iran. Unrest continued overnight. State media said a municipal building was set on fire in Karaj, west of Tehran, and blamed Reuters. State TV broadcast footage of funerals of members of the security forces they said were killed in protests in the cities of Shiraz, Qom, and Hamadan. Army says terrorist groups seek to undermine the country's security. A witness in western Iran reached by phone said the Revolutionary Guards, IRGC, were deployed and opened fire in the area from which they were speaking declining to be identified from their safety. On Friday, Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei accused protesters of acting on behalf of Trump, saying rioters were attacking public properties and warning that Iran would not tolerate people acting as mercenaries for foreigners. Here in Africa, China, Russia, and Iran today began a week of joint naval exercises in South Africa's waters in what the host country described as a BRICS Plus operation to ensure the safety of shipping and maritime economic activities. The BRICS Plus is an expansion of a geopolitical bloc originally comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and seen by members as a counterweight to U.S. and Western economic dominance to include 6 other countries. Though South Africa routinely carries out naval exercises with China